Salute, General, Iro, Musa, Etiquette. I'm affectionately referred to as General Etiquette, and I want to holler at y'all real quick, man. So today I've been thinking, right? And I've been thinking about family in a variety of ways. And during my quiet moments, I was able to reflect on a couple of experiences that I had that was a little bit troubling to me, right? So without mentioning the names of these gentlemen and or any information about them, right? We're just going to extrapolate the point. So just throughout my journey, right, I hear men talk about the women in their lives that they have had children with, right? One, two, three, four. It doesn't even matter, right? And although we should start to hate some of these terms, right? The idea of the baby mama or your baby father, right? And why I say we should hate some of these terms is because it has such a negative stigma associated with that, right? You can have a child with a man or a woman, not be married to them, and not necessarily associate those terms with what you have going on in your particular situation. Because in my humble opinion, a baby mama is when it's a stressful interaction. A baby father is sort of implicated when it's a stressful interaction. So me personally, I'm not too fond of those terms, but that's neither here nor there, right? The real point that I wanted to make by diving into the subject matter is I've seen and heard a lot of men and women dogging the person in their life, right? The man or the woman that they've chosen, right? I.e., chosen. Chosen is a very important word. It's the person that you've chosen to procreate with, right? And for me, that troubles me because when I stand around and I hear men saying, yo, I hate that bitch, or she gets on my nerves, or bleep her, or this, that, and the other, and vice versa, right? Disrespecting, emasculating, metaphorically castrating. Like when things like that are happening on both sides, that's a very toxic environment. Not only for the children, right? Not only for the idea that you two have to coexist in some way, shape, or form in order to truly be there for this child or children. It's more disturbing because it's a reflection of you. It's a reflection of a decision you made. So for me personally, for example, don't get me wrong, I understand that I don't understand everything. And I understand that I'm not privy to all of the details of everyone's relationship. But like I said, the generalities apply. That person is a reflection of a decision you made at some point in your life, right? You don't necessarily have to be with them or still desire to be with them to exalt them, right? The woman in your life, you should tell people she is phenomenal. Now, granted, if the person isn't really working toward that, if the man or the woman, however it is that you're dealing, isn't necessarily working toward a place of collaboration and coexisting healthily for the child and continuing to find that balance, right? Because nothing stays the same, right? It either gets better or it gets worse. So irregardless of whether you were in a relationship or you're just co-parenting, that relationship is one that needs to be nurtured. It's one that has to be protected, right? You have to pour into that relationship. Any interaction between two people is a relationship, right? So the person in your life, when y'all no longer are together, what does that interaction look like? And for me personally, and like I said, I talk to everybody in hopes that anybody can draw something and extrapolate something from my messages. But truly, I'm speaking to men mainly because I am a man, and that's the existence that I'm simultaneously living. So with that, men and women as well, but men, the woman in your life that you've chosen to procreate with, at the point in which things go astray, at the point in which you don't necessarily see eye to eye anymore, understand she's a part of your family. She is a part of your family. How you treat her is a reflection of you, right? Now, don't get me wrong. You don't have to throw rose petals as she walks. This isn't Coming to America. You don't have to bend over backwards, right? And you shouldn't have to. And hopefully no one uses children as a pawn and or a tactic to hurt someone else. We know it happens. We know it's unfortunate. We know paternity laws, and there's a whole bevy of things that we can get into that may be unfair from the man's perspective. But I'm talking about the essence and the energy of how you engage that interaction, because it's uberly important, not just for the child, right? If you have a son, he needs to see the way that a man should interact with a woman who has come under his protection, who's a part of his family, regardless of the circumstances. If you have a daughter, she should be able to see how a man interacts with a woman in the event, right, that you aren't happily ever after, which if we look at marriage rates, if we look at the way in which relationships are going, the truth is that we're sort of moving away from a conventional notion of togetherness. So the truth is in order to get ahead and be a step ahead of the curve, we should be working on and finding out what those alternative routes might look like in the event that we choose to pursue one of them. So what am I saying? Men, the women that you choose to procreate with, you should see as a queen. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you have to exalt someone that disrespects you. No, it doesn't mean that you have to exalt someone who doesn't necessarily put forward a phenomenal effort, whatever, right, you imagine that looks like. But what I'm saying is, in order for men and women to start having healthy interactions overall, right, because I personally believe the relationship between men and women are fractured. That's my humble opinion, and very, very specifically in the Black community. So with that, right, in an attempt for us to figure out how do we start to remedy a lot of the things that are plaguing our community. And one of those things are the fact that Black men and Black women can't necessarily seem to get on the same page. And for today's topic, I really wanted to talk about, like I said, this idea of once you procreate with somebody, in the aftermath of that, right? Like when you sit down, like, and you also have to understand, when you disrespect the woman in your life, when you say, I hate that bee, or this bee gets on my nerves, or I wish she would die, all of those things that you're doing is a reflection on you, and it reflects poorly on you, because that's a decision that you made. You decided to lay down with someone, maybe not knowing them in their entirety. Maybe you didn't do all the necessary recon you needed to do, right? But at the point in which you procreate with someone, you should. So for the men who have children, start to look and understand that that woman, as well as the children, or the child, all of them are a part of your family. They're a part of your family, to be provided and to be protected. And of course, respect should be reciprocated, right? And that's something that you have to work to. Like I said, I don't know the minutia and the specificities of every single situation. We're talking about that general interaction as we try to live healthily, right? Men and women, we're both on one side, throwing stones back and forth, pointing out how the other necessarily bothers and or annoys us and or hurts us. And at some point, we have to get out of that space of hurt and move toward a space of healthy living. And what does that look like? So for today, right, I had been thinking, and I really wanted to address this idea of men. When you have a child with a woman, she is a part of your family. Whether you like it or she likes it, she's a part of your family, and the way you engage her should be loving. It doesn't have to be that of a relationship. It doesn't have to be misleading. You don't have to sell dreams, right? But the engagement, the energy of love that you should engage that branch of your family, right? That's going to be a reflection of you, how you decide to treat the woman that you've procreated with, and or the women that you procreated with, if that's the existence that you're living. So men, please start to take pride, not just in how you show up for your family, but the energy that you pour into your family, right? And those things can be one and the same, but aren't always, right? They aren't always the same thing. Sometimes those things can be mutually exclusive, right? So remember. I hate the term baby mother. I hate the term baby father. Those things, like I said, have negative stigmas associated with it. If you're in a healthy situation and you two are figuring out life and figuring out life for the child, and you're doing so in a way where a feeling of love and respect is reciprocal, that's a healthier space to be in, right? I'm just saying I'm tired of hearing people dogging the people that they've decided to procreate with. Now, like I said, I don't know all the details of your relationship. If someone doesn't necessarily help, if they aren't there, I can't necessarily speak to that. But what I will say is we all have to take some type of onus and accountability. We can't just complain about the people in our life, the relationship in our lives, because one, we got to choose who we procreated with. And then after that, we get to choose to engage them with a spirit of love and respect. And then ultimately, we get to choose how it is that we speak about them, how it is that we mention them, right? Because the universe is powerful. Words are extremely powerful. And lastly, how you talk about and or treat your family is a direct result of reflection of you. Apologies. No one hears someone disrespect the person they've procreated with and go, you know what? I got a lot more respect for you now. No, absolutely not. That's not how it works. So please remember, let's start. It's not easy. I don't have all the answers, but what we all do know is that the way we've been navigating as men and women in the direction that we're going in is unhealthy. And we don't necessarily know where it will take us and where it will lead us. But in this facet, for this topic, let's start tackling the idea of that whole baby mother, baby father. And let's just say, no, two people have procreated and now they're trying to figure out how to provide the best lifestyle for the child and or the children involved. And let's start living with the idea of mutual love and respect. And you can move on if you want. You can have other relationships. There are ways to go about that in a healthy way. But we have to start pursuing health and wellness. And like I said, work on your body, work on your mind state, work on your EQ, get smarter, stronger, get more spiritually in touch, tap in, get better every single day. This is the channel where we pursue relentless and consistent growth, man. If you see me, say what's up, but you probably won't because of the Rona. So just salute General Iro Musa Etiquette.